Eventually, we are here.
We've defeated the technology. Technology
Well,
defeated us.
yeah, Facebook defeated us tonight, but that's okay. It doesn't matter because we can record this on Zoom and then we can share it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So I was saying to everyone before I rudely, well, I didn't rudely get cut off. I cut myself off because it wasn't working. I wanted to do some interviews with those of you on the line because obviously I can say what happens and I can say that till the cows come home, but it's not the same as when you guys are talking about it and the things that you experience. Like, people get a much better feel for what they can learn from the webinar, which is free. That's happening Wednesday at 7 p.m. And also from a line, because lots of the webinar goes into details about the ego, and not that we want to eradicate ego. Well, you know this because I've taught you this. But not that we want to eradicate it, just that it actually is a bit over, zealous. It kind of wants to take control. And that's the point we usually start to feel kind of stuck. So anyone who's watching, please join it. I will leave the link under the video or in the text in this video. But Francesca is going to talk about the course that I will be talking about on the webinar. So I'm being straight up front. You'll get loads of free content on the webinar, but I will talk about my course because that's where you're going to get the most value. So Francesca started working with me before Align.
Yeah, back in the spring.
Yeah. Yes. And there's loads of change that's happened to you, I feel, since then.
Actually before, because I haven't even started my new job yet, my current job yet. So yeah, it must have been before then. Yeah,
it was just before. It was at the moment when you were like, I have this saying where I say, like, I've really put an intention out there to work with people who are so done with where they are at that they need to do something to make change. And you're like the classic example. In fact, actually, I set that intention before you popped up into my world, and you don't know that.
Oh.
I've never told you that. But no. I set that intention because what I was finding was that I actually had some clients who were not able to do the work. They weren't quite ready yet. They wanted it, but they didn't want it like, when you get that like pregnancy craving. Well, you might not know that, but I know that. There's like this craving where you're like, I have to have that particular thing. You had that about your experience of life, like you had to move. And other people I'd worked with didn't always have that. They kind of were like, yeah, well, I want it, but they didn't really want it. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to be in a position where we're at our lowest in order to really be like, okay, I really want it now. I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten for like 10 weeks or something. And you were kind of at that point where you were like, you weren't absolutely starving, but you were really recognizing that you needed something else.
Yeah. I really felt I needed to change. I can't go on like this anymore. Not even one day longer.
Yeah.
I was at that point.
Yeah. And another thing that I had on my list of my perfect client is someone who would really work for themselves, not work for me. Not that, like, I'm not egotistical that way where it's like, do the work that I command you to do. It was like, I really wanted to work with people that really wanted to make change within themselves.
Yeah.
And you were the first person who worked with me who really did everything every single week without fail, right? Now, I'm not saying that people have to come and work with me and like, I'm like a, some kind of Trojan, like a workhorse. But I just really recognize that if you are really ready to up level, you are a person who's going to do whatever it takes. And that means when it gets uncomfortable, that means when you're at the point where you're like, I don't know if I can face this thing within myself, or I don't know if I can speak my truth, that kind of thing. But you did it. I want to ask you, where did you feel like within yourself that sort of push to change? Like, what was it in your life that was happening that made you need to do something?
Well, I had come out of a very dire work situation where I was blatantly exploited, and I took it really personally, actually, which I realize now I shouldn't have. I should have just got, up and gone long before then, but I just kind of kept on going, and kept my head down and kept on going, but it got worse and worse and worse, to the point where my health was really suffering. So I got to a point where I was really low, and I decided, that's it. I can't go any lower, because I'm going to really end up really, really badly. And so I just basically decided that I needed to change, and it also went on from there. I left my job, I started looking for a new one, and all I could see was myself doing the same thing with the same sort of people, and I was like, ah! I was really desperate not to get into a similar place from the one that I've been escaping from. But as a friend of mine told me once, you can't go forward if you're looking backwards. So,
yes.
Oh, nice hand you have there.
Sorry. Sorry, I just had to change my volume.
My truth. So, so I was I felt stuck, and I wanted to get unstuck, because I knew that if you're running around in circles, you end up just like, really, really like making a deeper hole. So, and get anywhere.
Totally.
I wanted to get out of the hole. I wanted to get somewhere, really, and fast.
Yeah.
So,
did you have a vision of where you wanted to go, or was it literally just you were so fed up I was
just so fed up, really. It was a series of things, actually, that spurred all of these major changes, because a couple of years ago I started doing meditation, and I was, up to that point, I was kind of an escapist, a professional escapist, because I wasn't happy with my life. So I have a very vivid imagination, very visual, so I would kind of daydream when I wasn't happy, and meditation really kind of brought me down to earth, which is really painful. And but then I was forced to see things that I was escaping from, which was very, very unhappy life at work, and a lot of other things that made me unhappy. And then it went from there, really, because that not only brought me down into reality, but brought me down with a massive thump. And it basically, it was more like a meteor, big crater, like, yes, crashed, burned. Get me out of here! I'm stuck, like that. So and then I decided that I needed to do something, because nothing was going to happen either way if I didn't do something for myself. And so I kind of, that realization made me want to go forward and do something. And that's when I found you on Facebook. I've known you for many years, and I've been following you on Facebook for many years, but that's when you were talking about giving the free half-hour call, and I thought, well, she seems amazing. What do I have to lose? So I just went up. I was like, I'm sorry. When do I start? When do I start? When do I start? When do I start? Like, and then we took it there, and that was like, I think January. Or maybe either January or maybe even December. I can't remember, but no, maybe January. Yeah. And then I got to the new job. We just started in mid-Feb. And then we did the Align course, which started in October, I guess.
Yeah, so we did some sessions together first, where I had some realizations of actually, I need to make this course longer, because you had some things come up that we needed to work on for sure. And then we started Align, because really you were in a position where like, I need to do more, which I already knew, right? So, part of the reason for bringing Align together, thank you, was actually because of you, really.
Wow.
Because I felt called to do this group work. Look, you little dancing. I felt called to do the group work, and I had this limiting belief of, what if people don't want to share their stuff? You know, because they tell me because they feel safe in that environment. What if they don't want to share? And then what I realized really through working with you, I was like, this is not long enough, and this needs to come together. There were other people coming to me with very similar stories that I knew that I had to bring this all together. Work, when you're doing inner work, is much more powerful when you're working together.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to do that.
I agree.
So when we started Align, you were still at a place where you were like, you had made some change. You had connected to your inner child, for example, who was so sweet and very creative, right? And you'd done that. And you'd started diving into the artistic stuff that I was saying, you know, you needed to develop, like the connection to, which led to the pottery thing, which is amazing. Naturally just started coming through, right? And I can't wait to see how it's going to end up, because the stuff that you're producing at the moment is amazing. I have to say, the last thing that you posted, the thing that you weren't sure about posting, is my favorite thing.
Oh, is it?
It is. I was
that
like, ooh.
That was blue sky thinking, because basically
I
was left with these two, maybe blue ocean thinking, but I was left with these two pieces which were like totally useless, and I was like, you know, and my teacher was like, why don't you put them like, you know, like that, and then you make like a little vase with a base. And I was like, what can I do? And then I got the idea, and I just put them one on top of the other, and like make a, you know, a little vase with a lid and make a base. And then I got this idea popped into my head that because it was like slightly kind of boat shaped, that I got this idea of, you know, like the beaches in Brittany where they have all of these cabins and you know, in the stripes and everything. And I thought, that's it. And then I thought, well, you know, beaches, waves of foam. So I have to put some bit of foam in there. And I was like, with my finger in this big container of it's called crater. It's a glaze and liquid. But then it does all of that, those little like craters when you put it on. Yeah. The kiln.
Well, I thought it looked fab. And the thing with the thing about the pottery, just to explain to people watching, when Francesca started to work with me, I said to her that I kind of have this feeling that, you know, did you ever want to be an art curator? Which is just a weird thing to pick up on. I mean, it's such, like, I can't imagine saying that to anybody, but I said it to you because I do have intuitive abilities. But, you know, you were very clear on, no, this is not like what I want to do now. It was something I wanted to do, but it's not fully what I want to do. And so as we really dived into connecting with your inner child, and you started creating all these things in plasticine and like bringing fun to work and really like pulling out your personality instead of you pretending to be this dry person at work that's very serious, because you do have a serious side, you do have that. But you have this air quality, which is very creative, like you just said, blue sky thinking. It's literally like, oh, this and that. And, you know, oh, there's a cat. I'll go and play with this cat for a bit and be late for work. Right? So you have that. And I was like, we need to connect to that and find out what this part of you, this wonder in you wants to create. And, you know, when the whole thing with the clay and the sculpture thing all came up, I mean, for me, that's really interesting because I didn't pick up on that at all. I didn't pick up that thing. I just knew you had to create. So now this thing is growing and developing, and there's so much potential in it. I'm just so glad that you're still running with it. Like you haven't stopped.
No,
not really. I mean, you haven't.
No, and it's becoming more and more important. And I'm having, you know, like big visions of where this is going to end up. Yeah. So. And I'm working towards that. So I finished the course. I now joined another studio. At the moment, I just go into classes once a week, but the owner of the studio has told me that I could join as a member if I wanted to, so that it would be something. Wow. Yeah. So, and that means that I will be able to go there, you know, for, you know, whenever, and stay however long. I don't tell my don't tell my lab manager, because otherwise we're like, hey, Francesca, it's a bit too early to know. Why you have to do 7 hours, you know? It's like,
Oh,
oops,
funny.
sorry, what's that? Oh, midday.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I have another 4 hours to go then.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
but yeah, no, it's absolutely brilliant. I really love it. And the thing is that as a child, I was very, very, very creative. I was always making things.
Yeah.
I was always like, someone would throw, I don't know, the core of a toilet roll, or even a little box
Yeah.
with, like made, the ones that contain medicines, little boxes.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
contains like syrups and things like that. So I would take them all, and there were quite a lot going around because we were living with my paternal grandparents. So
Yeah.
my grandma would say, "Oh, I'll save this for Francesca." My granddad like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this." "Oh no, Francesca will want it." So I had a lot of little boxes and things, and I would make things. An auntie of mine was also very creative, so I learned a few tips and tricks from her, and I was always making things. I mean, my mom is still opening drawers and finding things that I baked, and
Wow.
oh
But
gosh,
isn't it funny that this is the thing? Isn't it funny that as adults we give that up?
yes,
And we don't realize that, and this is what, part of the work online and with you is basically trying to get you to understand that that's your innate connection to yourself. Like your creativity is directly connected to your soul self. Like if you are not switched on creatively, it's really hard for you to switch on your intuition. It's really difficult. And the other thing I want to mention about this though is that you had a question quite a lot that you said whilst working through the course, which is you still don't know what your thing is yet. And what I find beautiful about coming to the end of the course, the last call that we all had together, a lot of it talked about you making things, right? And it's the funny thing is with like finding your purpose in life, a lot of people think that they'll suddenly just know what it is one day. Like they think that they'll suddenly just be awakened one day and then everything will be all right. It doesn't work that way. You have to cultivate a connection and you have to follow the stream, like follow the breadcrumbs. As soon as you have an idea that comes from your creativity, your intuition, you follow it one little step. Now at that first little step, you can't see that this is going to become an empire of clay works, whatever it's going to be, an empire of clay cats, right? I suspect. But, right, you don't know that at that point, and you can't know it. It's like me. If I was shown all of the work that I do with you guys, if I'd been shown that 5 years ago, I would have crapped myself. I'd have said I couldn't do it. I can't do that. That's not going to work for me. Like, how can I do that? That's what I would have said. So for you, you're still on that path, but you are, if everybody have dedicated yourself to the steps, like you went through all of the steps, like really with dedication, even though you didn't know where it was going to lead, and we still don't know the fruition of it fully, but you did all the steps, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's amazing. So I want to congratulate you for that and for doing all of the steps and being a real trooper, because you have been totally a star, right?
Thank you.
But I want to ask you, what were some of the first things that you realized in Align when we started the course? What were some of the first things you realized about yourself?
As you said, that I was really, really serious, and that I needed to open up because I was very, I grew up in a family where where I was inculcated a big sense of duty, basically. So you have to do everything before you think about having fun. So having fun is like the last wheel of the train, and it's not that important. So you have to do your duty, you have to be serious, you have to do your best, and it's always not because you're doing something that you want to do, but because you do something that you have to do, which is very, very different. And that actually shut out my inner child. And so when I started connecting to it, and that was the beginning, towards the beginning of the course, we did that meditation that you sent us of the inner child. That was really powerful. In the beginning, it was really hard as well, because my inner child was like,
I don't want to talk to you. Yeah.
She was like really serious and just staring at me really seriously, and I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
Who is this? Who is this?
Yeah.
I don't want you. I don't know. We're like, yeah, we know each other. We know each other. No.
We don't. Exactly. We don't know each other, because the thing is, a lot of people, when they first do that meditation, panic because their inner child doesn't speak or it won't connect. And whether you believe in an inner child or not doesn't really matter, because you're working with the psyche here. You're working with kind of like the subconscious self. And what it's just basically showing you is a part of you doesn't trust you.
Yeah.
And why should she? Because you haven't paid any attention to her for years.
Yeah.
So it's regaining trust, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the breakthrough came when there's a point at the end of the meditation where you give your inner child a gift.
Yeah.
You gave her a tulip, an orange tulip.
Yeah.
And then you said, oh, why don't you go and buy yourself some tulips? And I went, and I remember it was on a Saturday, and I was on Oxford Street. And I popped into M&S just to have a look, and wow, I was like blown away. There's orange tulips there, so I bought a little bunch, and it was only like a couple of quid. So I thought, oh gosh, and I bought a vase because I didn't even have a vase, so I bought a very simple vase. I've got one now, which I made myself, but I didn't at the time.
Awesome.
So I bought a vase. And the bunch of tulips was so small, I thought I'd have to buy another one because they were like 2 tulips or something. So I bought another one, so 5 quid worth of tulips, and they were lovely. And I put them on my table in the living room, and they, I saw them every morning when I was having breakfast, every evening when I was having dinner, and during the weekend they were always there, and I could enjoy them, and that was amazing. That felt like a gift to myself, and that kind of started, prying open the doors to connecting more to my inner child.
Yeah.
To be the first significant step.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you there, what changes did you start to make? But that was obviously the first one, is listening. And instead of looking at that process like, oh, this is a load of crap, I'm just making it up, which some people do. Instead, you just went with it. Like you just trusted and you went with it. But were there any other changes that you felt you made in the beginning that really started transformation happening? Or reconnection happening, maybe?
Well, it was like I was doing a lot of walking to and from work. So I was listening to the meditations that you gave us a lot. And I know that it was, it would have probably been even more beneficial if I had sat in a quiet place and done the meditation.
Yeah.
I was just kind of, getting in through the door somehow, even just foot in the door I wanted to get. So I was constantly doing the meditations, and I felt like a lot of times I felt like jumping and skipping along the road, and laughing and crying at the same time. And I was like, oh my goodness, just people around me. And it was good that I was moving, because I read somewhere that when you're moving, when you feel stuck in life and then you start moving physically, it kind of helps your mind as well get into the idea of moving, in life. And I think the combination of that really helped. And then I kind of started speaking up more, because I was never one who spoke up, never ever. And in fact, the first time I did, I had a big row with my auntie during the summer. I mean, both aunties during the summer.
Yes, I remember. I remember this.
Yeah, that was like the first step in speaking up, but that wasn't like, a compassionate step. But that was like a sort of a breach in the wall, if you like. But then the real door I opened was when a bit later on, into the course, when I started speaking up to my manager, because I had finished my probation period, so I felt that I didn't have to be so complacent anymore. And I had a gazillion ideas and on how to improve things at work, because I work in a place where the people are amazing personally, but the organization is very kind of civil service minded, where we've always done things this way, we're always going to do things this way. We don't even question if it works or it doesn't work. We just do it, full stop. And we struggle. And we've always worked with square wheels. how do the rest of the world do it, for goodness sakes? It's so difficult. And I'm like, let's make the squirrels round. No, we don't like change. So I got a bit upset at that, because I was like, I don't like this. I want to have more freedom to do things that ultimately benefit the organization and benefit me as well, because doing a mindless job is not in my interest. So I spoke up to my manager and I said, okay, I'm not happy with what I'm doing now. I want to do more of this. I want to be able to change that. I want to do this and that and the other. And she was like, oh, okay, you were happy until now. What changed? What happened? I'm like, okay, don't worry, wasn't hit by a meteorite or something. It's still me, not my evil twin or anything else. So
but for her, maybe there was this overnight change.
Yeah.
Because she obviously didn't realize, like, I think you tried to explain to her, you started doing some inner work, and she looked at you like you're a bit crazy, I think, at one point. But but she wouldn't understand, like the depth that you were going to. And what you're really talking about, just to explain to anyone watching, is there's part of the course where we really look at speaking your truth. It's one of the pillars of consciousness in my world. It's what basically, when you learn to speak your truth, this area where you hold yourself back starts to unblock. Now, when you unblock it, what sometimes happens is, Francesca, is that the fire or whatever other element you are that you're holding back, it could be your creativity, it could be fear, even that maybe if you're in a relationship that you're not happy and you're frightened to say something in case it splits up. Whatever fear or whatever element is trying to come through, and you have fire also, basically was unplugged. So in a way, it's like at the beginning it's a little bit scary, because you can feel all this emotion coming up, but that's what I'm saying about you still went with it, even though you were feeling emotion and you didn't maybe quite know how to navigate it at the beginning, because who does when you haven't done it for all of your life?
Right? Exactly. So, and it was scary at the beginning, and also I was really taken aback by my manager's reactions to some of the things I said, not just on that particular day, but the following few weeks, and I'm still struggling with that, because it's just all of a sudden she's got like this bomb in her hand that's exploding, and it's all over the place, and it's messy, and it's like, I want this, I want that. Not in that way, I mean, but a little bit of my inner child came out, and I'm like, this doesn't.
Well, she is Italian. She's Italian, so that's like a given.
Yeah, but in the end, I was able to make her understand my point of view, and it wasn't a question of I've won, because it wasn't about winning. It was about really, starting the dialogue to get her to understand my point of view, and just to see that there is another way of doing things which might be a better way.
Yes.
And also another thing is that I can see problems, and when I have a solution, I just put it out there. I mean, now I do, before it was like, oh God, this doesn't work.
Yeah, the fear of speaking and not saying it. But the thing is when you start to learn to speak your truth, you start to build, I was going to say the thing I hate, build confidence. You don't. No one builds confidence, people. Sorry. No one builds it. You just strip back the layers of fear, and then you witness your truth. You are confidence, but only when you learn to speak it. It doesn't happen before then. You have to take some action. So you absolutely did that. I wanted to ask you, just to jump a little bit further, what was the favorite week that you had on the course? Is there one?
Oh gosh, it's really difficult, because I have a few. I think I liked the one where we did a visualization, where I was basically facing a fear block that I had, and then I had
I'm laughing. Yes.
That was brilliant. That was a very, very, very cool time that I had. But I liked most of it, I think. I really enjoyed making my vision board. It's been growing, and I've attached more things to it. It's over there. I'm not sure that I have the courage to show it to everyone. But yeah, it's very colorful, it's full of things, and because Vic, another one of the participants in the course, said, oh, you know, I stuck this on my vision board and it came true, and I'm gonna stick this other thing on the vision board because, you know, if it's there, it's gonna come true. I was like, oh, okay, good. I'm gonna stick things on my vision board because they are going to come true. You know, it's just,
yeah.
I wasn't even thinking that way, but now I'm not even doubting that. So, you know, I just, oh, let's stick on the vision board. It is going to come true. And I was looking at it at the beginning of the week. Was it last weekend, and I was thinking, okay, that one come through, tick, that one, yeah, that one, yeah, absolutely, tick, that one, oh, that one is, yeah,
wow,
yeah. So come through, tick, you
know, oh, you need to start a new one.
Just tick on it. Well, things like, because I put things like connecting with my soul voice, connecting with my, you know, inner child, and I have a very good relationship with my inner child now. I mean, not all the time, because sometimes
sure.
Connect, but now it's much easier. And sometimes, like, you know, there was once when I was I think it was last week or the week before, there was at work and I was in a meeting, and at one point it was like I was holding her, you know, like she was sitting on my lap, and I was like, oh my goodness, I just feel like hugging my inner child, and then I can't go like this at work because I'm gonna go, you know, in a meeting, because I'm gonna go, hang on a second, what are you doing? You know, you're supposed to be in a meeting, participating in a meeting, and you're hugging yourself. Oh.
Yeah, but what you're describing to me is instead of avoiding something that you're feeling because you're in a meeting, you're still present with yourself. So what you've actually learned is presence with yourself. Maybe not at all times, but actually that's human. And actually, even as a parent, you never have that at all times with your children anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we're all different parts within one body. So really, we have to figure out which parts are speaking. Now, that's why we do all of these modalities every week, because we really want to build the connection. And sometimes you're not going to be connected, and actually that's okay. Sometimes you're going to become the inner child, and she might not be happy, and you might not be able to parent yourself so well. But the whole point is that you learn to parent yourself much better than you have been, and you grow from that point. Like, I'm not expecting people to do 3 months on this course and suddenly you're enlightened and you're floating, right? And nothing happens in life. It doesn't work that way, right? Life, if only, exactly. No. Life is going to give you stuff. Like I keep saying, you know, someone in your world who you care about is going to leave or going to die at some point. Someone, you know, you might fall in love with someone, they don't love you back. Like, these things happen to everybody, but it's how you parent yourself throughout it, right? It's working with the subconscious mind, so you know what you're attracting and what you want in your life. The vision board's really hugely important for that. I want to ask you, sorry.
Please. No, I just wanted to say that I've become much more aware of what it is that I am attracting, because I'm more in touch with my, you know, subconscious, and so I'm I'm working through my belief system to see, you know, what it is that I can that doesn't serve me anymore, that I need to let go, basically. So absolutely. It's not a job that happens overnight, but you have to start somewhere. And you know, I see a lot of people like, oh, you know, this happened to me. Why do these things always happen to me? I'm like, I wish I could tell you, but you know, that they're so far removed from our way of thinking that I think that they would just kind of, you know, well,
victim thinking, victim thinking is, you know, basically the majority of way people are trained to be. They're trained to look that it's outside of themselves. They're trained to not take responsibility. And in my world, it's much better to take responsibility for your part. Because as we said, life is going to happen. Things are going to happen. People are going to be who they are. You can't change that, but you can absolutely change who you are. It's the only thing you can really transform fully, right? And everybody in life is looking for more love and more money and more success and more happiness and contentment. It only ever starts from here. It's never outside, right?
But that's
I want to say,
sorry, I wanted to say that's why you see all of these people doing shopping like on Black Friday, and they buy and buy and buy, and in the end, are they any happier? Probably not.
No.
Of everything.
No,
Oh,
you're happier with your plasticine unicorns or your pottery that you're not making. I mean, that's what generates happiness. So you have to find your happy, which is deep within you, connected to your inner child. I don't know of any other way. That's why I'm teaching what I teach. I don't know of any other way than just to switch that on. You have to reconnect more deeply. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Otherwise, you don't have a foundation. Like, you now have a foundation that's much, much stronger than you would have been a year ago. Like, you have all these tools now that you can use. You know how to connect to yourself. You know what it feels like in your body. You know when your dreams are giving you information. Dream Week with you was actually my favorite week, even though Dream Week for me was actually quite hard because it was a lot to go through.
Oh,
It was a heavy week, but your dreams were so clear, so crystal clear, and sending so much information. That for me was like a great insight into your mind and into your world.
I don't know if I should blush or what. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had fun doing that as well because it was really interesting, and I still, from time to time, I still write down, you know, the dreams that I really kind of, you know, really jump to my eyes because because I have some weird ones, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what this means.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. When we do dreams, it's hard at first because there's so much symbolism. But the more you connect with them, the more you can start to understand what's coming through. There's usually themes, like your theme of being in the airport. Many people have that when they're kind of stuck and they're not on the journey. I actually spoke to a lady the other day who had the same kind of dream, the same one. Oh, I'm here in the airport. I can't get on the flight. I don't know what I'm doing. Right, all of that thing. So when we look at it, we can start to see archetypal themes that are from the collective unconscious, but also then we can start to pinpoint what they mean in your world because there's other reflections that pop in. You know, so just keep going with the dreams because your dreams are really, really clear. Not everyone has that. That if you have the skill of that, which you do, use it to its fullest because your psyche will keep giving you information.
Okay.
But what I wanted to kind of round off with, because we could chat for ages, and we will, because we do. But to kind of round it off, I wanted to ask you, what has been your biggest takeaway or significant change or understanding? And what would you say to anyone who is going to be listening to the webinar or who is interested in joining Align?
Okay, so biggest change, biggest takeaway, well, two really. One was connecting with my inner child, because that I felt that was like the most real part of myself. And then when you do that, then the world, the 3D world outside kind of becomes less heavy. Does it make sense?
Yes. Yeah, totally.
So it becomes less important somehow. So, you know, you kind of, I don't know, I want to say centered. I don't know if that's
Oh, I like it.
Base,
I like that word.
But yeah, so it's like, and it's not like cutting off the outside world, quite the opposite. It's being centered in yourself so that you can live better in the outside world, something like that. And then the other thing was, oh gosh, I've forgotten now. Oh yes, my creativity, definitely my creativity, because that really opened the floodgates of my creativity. And it's brilliant because, you know, when I'm at my ceramics classes and I'm just like working away, it's like being a child. And you know, I finished the course at the college with the teacher, but the teacher was like, oh, okay, now we're gonna do this, and you know, if you have stuff from last week, then finish that because we're gonna do another project, and you do it this way and do that. And in a way that's to be not very prescriptive, but kind of in a bit, you know. And then, you know, when you do glazing, you note down with glazes you've used, and I'm like, oh, I like blue, I like this color, oh, it sounds great, the sky blue, I'm gonna try it. Bonk, I did something, eh? And then a week later, what did you put on that one? I know at some point I used the sky blue, but I don't remember what it was, this one, or that one, or the other one. And she was like, oh, this is a difficult one.
You can tell that you get so excited about it, which makes me really happy because, like you said, your seriousness had kind of taken over, and this part of you was not seeing the light of day. And this is what life is all about. It's about living it from the heart. And, you know, so for me, even though, like, you know, you're like, oh, and you're all in air and it's like, la, la, la. It's amazing. It's amazing because instead of it just being ideas that are sort of up here, you're grounding them now. Like you're actually pulling them into the 3D.
Yeah.
It's tangible.
And my life has changed so much for the better. It's just unbelievable. I mean, this time last year, I was, even though I had left my, you know, very painful job and everything, I was a completely different person. And even though I'd been working for many years on myself and stuff, but I still was a very, very different person from now. So I'm so much happier now. You know, I still have a lot of work to do in terms of being even happier, because there are some things in my reality which I don't enjoy very much, but at least I know how to go in that direction, and I know where I'm going, which is really important. And the second question was, what would you say to people who would be interested in joining? I would say, first of all, join, do the course, but really do the course, really make a commitment to do the course, because you put in that much, you get out, you know, an enormous amount.
I agree.
And and also share, because it's unbelievable. I am member of other Facebook groups because of other you know, courses I attend and stuff, and it's so powerful. It's so powerful to share. And like, for example, when Emilia said, oh, you know, I go with the flow, and it's a row, you go on the stream, and that one, I can't even sing it, but that one really got me thinking, and I thought, crikey, you know, why am I always struggling so much? I need to find a way to go with the flow, because I'm tired of struggling. And I spent a whole week telling people at work, and not my manager, but everyone else, I'm so tired of struggling in here. And one guy was like, oh my God, you know, I could see from his face, oh my goodness, is she contemplating suicide? And I was like, you know, I was on top of the world. I was like, yeah, full of enthusiasm. And then he was like, he was a bit reassured. But he was like, okay, so when you say that, what do you mean? I'm like, no, I mean that, you know. It's like, okay, it's fine. So you're not contemplating suicide. That's good.
No.
Yeah, but it's really, you know.
You're right about the sharing. I think the thing with the sharing, the thing with you, right? You were very open and you really went for it and you shared a lot. The more you share, the more integrated you become with yourself. Because when you are speaking, again, it's this thing of speaking here, you're speaking it out. The universe can send you feedback. It's very powerful. You know, I'm always saying about that. The stupid thing we do with birthday cakes, when we tell our children, make a wish and don't tell anyone because it won't come true, is actually back to front. That's not true. That's to keep you small. When you speak it aloud, that's when you hear yourself, your subconscious hears yourself, and you start to make changes inside, because now those parts are communicating. So sharing is absolutely key. That's why people in the course really need to be prepared to do that, to share, because you will make bigger, you know, changes in your world. Much bigger.
And I have to say, it was scary for me at the beginning, because, you know, I'd never done it before. I've never done a live video or something on Facebook. And first of all, it's an enclosed environment, a closed group that you're in, so safe. And secondly, you get used to it really quickly. And, you know, I used to do it when I was in commuting, you know, walking to and from work. And that means that it's kind of, I'm sharing, although, you know, most of the time there was like no one around me, but it's like I'm sharing with like the universe, because I'm outside and I'm walking along and there's trees and then traffic on one side, and, you know, and it's just, it really is impactful. So yes, definitely do the work and share. So that is my advice.
And I want to just end with saying that it's been such a pleasure to work with you. I'm sure we'll work together again, but it has been such a pleasure. I've enjoyed every minute of it, even when your fire was coming out, when you started speaking your truth. Even when that was happening.
Yeah, well, you know.
That was a great thing. And there was something else I wanted to say and it's popped out of my head. Can't be that important, I suppose. But yeah, it's just like for me, watching the transformation has been amazing, and to be allowed to help you navigate it has been such a blessing. And I really mean it. Every time I say to you, you've been a shiny star, I absolutely mean it. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I really care about the people that I work with. You know this.
I know.
I really care.
Then, yeah, there's another thing I want to say to people watching that, you know, Gail is very, 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 very supportive. She doesn't judge. So whatever crap is coming up, you know, inside you, and I had a lot. Didn't I, Gail? I had a lot. That is like, she makes a safe space for you to bring that up and make peace with it and get on with your life. And that I think is really important. I'm getting all emotional now.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. I give you a virtual hug until we meet in person again. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this for me and to share. And to everyone who's watching, if you haven't signed up for the webinar, please do. I will leave the information. And for those of you who might watch this after watching the webinar, then hopefully I will see you online. All the details are on the webinar, and I'll be back soon with more interviews from some of the others. So my lovely Francesca, mwah!
Thank you so much.
Good night, sweetheart. You're so welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.